Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and let's get straight into this morning. I don't feel any different, and it says no more Ollie, it says Solskjaer's last chance on the video, and I think that generally is the truth. I think there's a real arrogance around Manchester United Football Club, whether it's from the coaching, whether it's from the board itself, that just sees football fans as somewhat hysterical and irrelevant, and that they're on the right track, so therefore there is no accountability. And I think that sort of dictatorship is very dangerous in any walk of life when you ignore the vast majority who are basically saying this is not acceptable for Manchester United. And a manager can come out after the game and create excuses, and a board can say we're sticking with this process no matter what. But there is a growing movement against this manager. Now, I am with the manager. I've said, look, let's see where we are in May. I know he's going to get a new contract, and I think the summer is very, very important. But you cannot ignore the movement that is moving against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The reality is, last night was a real wake-up call for a lot of people who spend a lot of time championing a captain because he shouts a bit on the pitch, championing Fred or McTominay because they put batteries in their back and they run around and they get into little scraps but they can't pass the ball. We are championing players that are not good enough. I'm not saying they're crap, I'm not saying that, but we are championing players that are not good enough. And at some point, people will say, well, it's just another overreaction. We've had a good week. We're second in the league. We're winning the Europa League. People are just overreacting. But I think there's a truth to that. But I also think that there is a dangerous line that I don't like, which is win at what cost. We did beat West Ham and we did beat AC Milan. But at what cost are we winning these games? There's a team there, right? I would say to Solskjaer, no more. No more back six. No more Fred and McTominay. No more Matic and McTominay. No more Matic and Fred. Because if you can lose a game 3-1 to Leicester, then what is the point in playing shit players in a back six to protect a clean sheet that you didn't get anyway? What more damage could Paul Pogba do playing in a midfield pivot than Fred and McTominay or Fred and Matic? The answer is none. We will be a better team. We will create more chances to score more goals. This obsession with keeping a clean sheet and grinding out 1-0s belongs in a Mourinho manual. It belongs at Arsenal with George Graham 30 years ago. This is Manchester United. Stop hiding behind cowardly tactics and start playing the United way. Because the issue is, this reminds me very much so of what happened with Jose Mourinho 3 years ago. I think I've been saying this for weeks, and many of you have. There is a real echo from the past of what happened with Mourinho. He is not going to get sacked at the moment. He will not get sacked in the summer. But by Christmas, he could be gone if he doesn't make a big turn quick. He's got to turn around from what he's doing and change it quick. He's got to look at the history. Stop looking at Sir Alex Ferguson and thinking you're replicating that, because your football's like Mourinho, mate. And you're playing like Mourinho. You're playing not to lose instead of trying to win and build something. Our tactics and the way we approach football games at the moment is cowardly. It's Mourinho ball. It's a back six and try and nick a goal. And the problem is, how many times this season have we actually comprehensively been beaten like we were against Leicester? Not that many, because we use this back six and try and nick a goal. And Mourinho 3 years ago was doing exactly the same. And on this very same live chat, we had people going, I'm sorry, Mark, I'm Mourinho out. I know we're second in the league, but I'm Mourinho out. He's not the right man. And I was sat there going, well, you've got to give him till the summer. I'm not Mourinho out at the moment. And a lot of people agreed with me. But the reality is, are we not in the same situation at the moment? I'm not just talking about the Leicester result. This has been going on for a few weeks. And look, granted, there are vocal people out there pushing the Ollie out movement who do us no favours as a football fan, as a football club. They don't. They make it about abuse. They make it about agenda. They make it something that you're like, yeah, I'm probably Ollie out, but I don't want anything to do with you. You're just biased and ridiculous. So I get that. But I think that there are massive similarities with what happened Mourinho 3 years ago. And if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't wake up, and Michael Carrick was part of that. I worry about Carrick. He sat next to Mourinho. And is he part of the problem? Is Carrick's coaching part of the problem? Nobody's ever said this. He sat next to Jose Mourinho under that shit football and watched the manager get sacked. Is he part of the problem, or is he wise enough to actually see the problem and avert the problem? Because at the moment, I can see massive echoes where we are basically becoming a results football club. And I don't recognise Manchester United as just a results football club. We must win, but we also must win in the right way. And the similarities between what we are doing right now, between what Mourinho did 3 years ago, are scary. And yes, we could get to the end of the season and get second place, and maybe we'll win the Europa League. But if he doesn't change the way he's playing, he's heading towards the sack. I don't know what this football club and Ollie are trying to do. I don't know what it is they're trying to. Are they trying to? Do they think they're going to manipulate the fans to accept what's happening? Because it's never going to happen. You've got to change the way that you're playing. And I look at that team on the left and I ask a big question: why? Why can we not pick that team? Why can you not bring Eric Bailly into the defence to make us have a bit of pace so we can play a higher line? Why can you not put Paul Pogba into the midfield to give us a bit of creativity from a midfield that is no better than any midfield in the Premier League? It's a shit midfield. Bring in Paul Pogba, play him in the pivot. Now, I've put Fred there, but to be honest, it could be Matic, but it can't be McTominay. And I accept Fred's not good enough. He's atrocious. But we've got to get somebody in next to Pogba there. Obviously, Bruno, Rashford if he's fit, Cavani's got to play up front, and get Donny van der Beek. We know that Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford are very good down that left-hand side as a partnership. We know that the right side is dead. Why not put Pogba on the right side of the pivot with Van der Beek playing off the right and Bruno interchanging with him, and get something going down the right-hand side that isn't just long balls from the back and relying on pace? I just don't understand why he can't use that team. And people might say, well, you pick that team, we might concede more goals. I would rather pick that team every day of the week because it will score more goals than the crap that we're being subjected to over the last few weeks. And let's be honest, all we're doing is picking a back six and trying to nick goals, and it's not acceptable. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer went into that game yesterday, came out of that game losing it, and said things like the subs, effectively. The subs that I made, I wouldn't have done anything different. Basically said I wouldn't have done anything different. The subs I had, I'd do again now. People don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And what he's talking about there is the fitness of someone like Paul Pogba who can only play an hour. But that's scary because what that means is, and Kieran says, I'm worried about United, Pogba, Fernandes, etc. will all leave as they want to win trophies and will keep Ollie and become the next Wenger under Arsenal and Wenger. Hi Mark, great work. Have you heard about that Malaysian prince looking into United trying to have a meeting for a takeover? Might be false news. I've heard about it, Deepak, but his value is about £300 million. The value of Manchester United is £4 billion, so it's irrelevant news at the end of the day. But what I want to say is that I felt that substitution that Solskjaer made yesterday, those 4 substitutions, he decided that on Friday. There's zero in-game change about tactics or trying to do something dynamic. Those 4 substitutions look to me like that had been loaded up on an Excel spreadsheet on Friday morning, and that's happening. I don't care if we're winning 3-0, we're losing 3-0, whatever the scoreline, we'll make those 4 substitutions. Because it was basically about Pogba, Donny, they've only just come back, they need to come off. Martial played 90 minutes even though he'd been injured. Cavani came on. But it was like watching an Excel spreadsheet print off a printer. It was just boring. It was like, oh my God, we're losing 2-1 and you've just brought 4 on and 4 off and you've changed nothing. It's the same tactics, the same thing. We're chasing a goal and you've brought more of a defensive side on. The in-game tactics are dull. The in-game decisions are premeditated. There's never anything dynamic going on. It's an FA Cup quarter-final. You've got Southampton in the semi-final. And you do basically what he's saying is, those subs were pre-planned anyway because the fitness guys told me that could only happen. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get what he's trying to achieve at this football club other than job protection, which is always fine, and grinding out results. And I'm somebody who's, even when we got knocked out by Leipzig, I was like, give him till May. And that has to happen. But I don't look at May and go, yeah, he's made it. Let's have a party. I'm looking at next season. I'm looking at the gap. I mean, again, this morning you've got stories about Erling Haaland going to Manchester City. I mean, what if they get Haaland? What if they get Messi? They're only going to get better. I wake up this morning and we're yet another. Every one of those goals is down to the midfield, by the way. There are secondary things. Like I think Henderson should save the second one. I think Maguire's pass is ridiculous on the first one. But directly Fred on the first one, McTominay on the third one, and the second one is Fred and Matic. And yet we're not linked with centre defensive midfielders. It's absolutely stunning to me that our board and our manager think that we don't need a centre defensive midfielder and not prioritising this. And they think, let's go and spend money on a striker, when I don't care who's up front for United yesterday. They're having a shit game because we don't create anything from it. But he's got to stop. It's got to stop. And I do believe people will say, oh, Goldbridge is flip-flopping again. It's a title of a show, Solskjaer's Last Chance, because I really do. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about what's going on. I know, because I've been doing this for years and years and years, I know what's happening in this fan base. I'm telling you now, if you want to do a little bit of research, check what happened with Mourinho. This is exactly what happened with Mourinho 3 years ago. He's heading towards the sack. Fans are getting fed up of him. I know fans of this football club who have been fans of this football club for years and years and years. They're older than me and they are Ollie out. I would never have thought they were Ollie out. I'm like, fucking hell. These are like almost top reds. They're not going to be Ollie out. They are Ollie out. They're like, you know what? Great legend of the club, but why should I stick with him just because he played for the football club? He's clueless. He ain't got a bloody clue what he's doing. Now, there's a lot of people still behind Ollie. There's a lot of people like me who are like, let's see where we are in May and what the club do in the summer. But I'm telling you now, the ball is shifting. The ball is shifting. He's losing support, not because people don't like him, but because people don't think he's the right man. Because people don't think he's good enough. Because people think he is painting by numbers. Because people think that his tactical acumen and those people around him is not of the level of even a Brighton, let alone a Manchester United. That's the general consensus. And they're the people that I probably listen to more than any. I don't listen to people on social media who are calling him Ollie the Wally and being abusive and basically just want to be proved right, even though they've got their own, agendas about other things that are just bloody ridiculous. But I do listen to people that I respect. And I listen to a lot of you lot who've been around for a long time, and I see the frustration and I see that people are turning, and I think that, you know what, he's almost on his last chance, because if he comes back from this international break and persists with putting Paul Pogba on the wing and putting McFred in the midfield, grinding out these 0-0s, then what the future is of this football club can only be a bad one. And the club can talk about progress and Solskjaer can talk about, I'm heading in the right direction. But you're going to end up talking to a brick wall, because how many managers have ended up out of a job? The board might stick by you now, Ollie, but they'll turn on you, because if it's their arse or your arse that's going to fall in the fire, you're getting the shove. Nobody else. And that's what will happen, because that is the way this club works. They are going to throw you into the fire and walk away and bring somebody else in, because they're the constant at this football club. And last night I put a tweet out and I said, look, it's really sad that Ollie out is trending when the real issue at this football club is always going to be the Glazers. And of course people are very angry about that, because they're like, well, I guarantee I can name you 10 managers that would do better than this. Well, I'll guarantee that you can't. What you can guarantee is that you can get as a manager that will play better football. We won't be in a better league position. We won't. We might win an FA Cup. Is that good enough for Manchester United? It's improvement, but the progress I want is Manchester United to win titles and be a Champions League contender, because that is what fits Manchester United. So I look at this situation and I say, look, maybe Ollie isn't the right man. There's no maybe about it. The football is a joke. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Even beating West Ham, even beating Milan, the football is crap, and you know it. And yes, we could play a better brand of football, and we could bring a manager in that plays Van der Beek and Pogba and Bruno in the same team, and plays Eric Bailly at the back, and plays more on the front foot. But we wouldn't finish any higher than second. That team cannot win the title. It is not on the same page as a Manchester City or even a Chelsea at the moment. So the real issue is at the top. And also, if you want Solskjaer to be sacked, then you need a board that's going to be that ambitious. So you're almost hypocritical by constantly going after the manager, because the people who sack the manager are the owners, and the people who drive the football club to first place are the owners. It's like I said last night, it's like having your foot run over by a car and shouting at the car. You might want to go and have a word with the driver. And the problem at Manchester United is the driver. It's the people with the keys to take us anywhere we need to be, and they refuse to do it. So my anger will always be aimed at the Glazers, because that is where this club fails. And people will say, no, it's not the Glazers, we should have won yesterday, they don't pick the team, they don't pick the tactics. It's an FA Cup quarter-final. The last time I checked, Manchester United should be winning league titles, and that squad is nowhere near good enough. So yeah, another manager would do things differently, I agree with that, but there is a ceiling to this football club, and we're hitting it right now. Second place. That's about as good as we can do. My worry about Ollie is he isn't learning from experience. Fred should have been hooked. Sorry, I've got a cough. My worry about Ollie is that he isn't learning from experience, says Sanjit. Fred should have been hooked at half-time versus PSG and Leicester, and it cost us consistently the wrong subs. Well, I agree with you on that. This is the opposite to what happened to Mourinho. He was sacked for going against the owners. Ollie is protecting them, says Andre. Well, no, that's just one strand. It's not the opposite at all. We're playing boring football. We've become about results rather than performance. We're second in the league. We think that that's amazing. And we're going into a very big summer window where the board will let the manager down. And by Christmas, Solskjaer will be sacked. So I think it's very, very similar. Very, very similar. My worry about Ollie is he isn't. I've done that one. And there is no real progress. And Ollie has been on the job for how long now? What is the style of play? It really looks like no one knows what they are supposed to do on the pitch. Top four is only there because it's a strange season, says Laurie. Well, for me, I think that progress is there. It is there, and that's why he will be in a job next season. There is progress. It's factual. We're in second place. Last year, we were not even in second place at this point. I think we've got 12 more points than we had last year. So there is progress. Of course, there is progress. The problem is that progress steep enough for a club like Manchester United? Well, at the moment, it will be. That's how the board will feel about it. But as I've said a few times, to me, the progress feels like somebody who's driving a very fast car with their foot down and just absolutely revving the shit out of the engine. There is no... the progress will come to an end. I woke up this morning, I thought the sad thing is, not that we've lost the game because we've had a good week. The sad thing is that it's inevitable that we will have more and more of these results. We will go on a good run again. We'll probably get a load of clean sheets again. We'll grind out a few 1-0 wins again. But we will have a big disappointing result before the end of the season. And it might be that we miss out on second. It might be that we miss out on a Europa League. But these results will keep happening because the game plan is so predictable. You can't sit here on shows like we do all the time saying that the problem with that team is the centre-backs and the centre midfielders. It's weak. They just bubble wrap each other. They just protect... You know what it is? It's protection in numbers. It really is like shouting abuse at people but then having a big crowd around you to protect you. That's what we're doing. Our eyes are being abused by that midfield and that centre-back pairing because they just over-protect each other at the detriment of everything else. Full-backs can't really get forward. Bruno and the forwards don't get the ball because those four are just about protecting each other. What football club picks players and then picks other players to protect them because they're not good enough? Solskjaer's not stupid. He knows why he puts McFred in front of Maguire and Lindelof because Maguire and Lindelof are vulnerable. We are picking players to protect other players. Manchester United pick players to protect others. I don't see Brighton doing that. I know Potter knows he's got limitations, but he goes out and tries to do the best of with what he's got and play an expansive brand of football. Manchester United go out to try and protect the clean sheet that you start with and nick a goal with better players. That's what we do. Counter-attack FC, bubble wrap FC. This is the way we're playing football. Now, Robert McCormack says players are tired. Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool are poor to watch. Robert, we've been poor to watch for about 3 years, mate. There's been little bits of positivity where I've been very excited. I thought the PSG result was very, very good tactically. Leipzig at home was very good tactically. A couple of games have been really exciting, like Southampton in the second half was just relentlessly exciting. Everton the first half in the Carabao Cup. But I can probably count on one hand, maybe two, at a push, some good performances from Manchester United, and yet we've probably played over 40 games this season. That's poor. Less than 25% of our games have been entertaining, and that's probably consistent across the last 8 years, really, isn't it? The standard of football that Manchester United inflict on us is piss poor. And I watched Leicester yesterday, and I think Leicester did not get the credit they deserved yesterday. I think Leicester did not get the credit that they deserved. I don't know how good Ndidi is. I think some people overhype Ndidi. But yesterday we made Ndidi and Tielemans look like prime Xavi and Busquets. They ran that midfield. You know, it's a shame Maddison wasn't playing because they would have had the trinity then of Iniesta. Like, we made them look so good. That Tielemans goal, I've never seen a Man United midfielder do that in years. He starts on the halfway line, he plays a forward pass. I was like, oh my God, what did that midfielder just do? I've never seen that. Is that a new skill move on FIFA? He passed the ball forward 30 yards and ran after it. He passed it and moved after it and then carried on running with it and scored. I'm like, what the bloody hell's that? I've never seen anything like that. And it's basic. It's basic. And also, let me just say about Tielemans, there's a story this morning from The Athletic which actually fits, that Tielemans wanted to come to Manchester United when he went to Leicester, but he just didn't want to wait because United were dithering. And you know what United were dithering doing? Signing Harry Maguire. We were spending £80 million on Harry Maguire while Leicester were going, thank you very much, we'll spend half of that on Tielemans and we'll keep the rest back for Fofana in a year's time, or however they spent it. So Tielemans was a player that Man United could have got. I remember that. I remember talking about it at the time. I remember a lot of you saying we should get Tielemans. We could have got Tielemans, but we didn't because we were dithering on the Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka deal. So Tielemans could have been a United player. And whatever you think about Tielemans, I mean, I don't think he's the world's best midfielder, but he shits all over our midfield. He's on a different level. If they're in the basement, he's on bloody floor 210. He's so much better because he just does things that I spend my life watching a lot of football, as I'm sure many of you do, and there are so many midfielders better than what we've got. I seriously put it on social media last night. Who, on a serious, Matt Fred, McTominay and Matic, whatever combination out of those three you want to put together, out of those two you put together, who in the Premier League has got a worse centre defensive midfield pivot than us? Because Sheffield United, West Brom, I'm struggling then. Newcastle, I wouldn't even know that Newcastle do have a worse midfield than us. Ours is shocking. Really, really, really bad. And it's just, I just think that we've become a football team, and I see it quite a lot. I think if we beat Brighton in April and Fred scores a goal, or Matic or McTominay score a goal, people will be like, oh, sit down, haters, with your agenda. Sit down with your haters, your Fred haters with your agenda. And it's like, oh God, this is the problem with some of our fans. They just want, they'll take one performance and it will last a lifetime. Whereas I used to see a performance that lasted a lifetime in our midfield. We used to have players that if they had a bad game, you wouldn't believe it. Like, they were so consistent. We now celebrate such mediocrity in our side. There are players in that team. If I was manager of that club and I had the budget that Tuchel's going to get in the summer or Pep's got, I tell you what, that team on the left, even that team on the left, I'm getting rid of probably 3 of them. And that's the team I would pick at the moment. I'm getting rid of 3 players. I'm getting rid of a centre-back, I'm getting rid of one of the midfielders, and I'm probably going to improve the right-back, because I don't think Wan-Bissaka offers us enough going forward at the moment. We're not progressing. I couldn't stand Jose football, but after 29 games, Jose had better points tally than anything Ollie has achieved. We've progressed from last season, but that was awful, says Xander Red. Well, I can't remember how many points Mourinho had 3 years ago, but we're in a very, very similar situation, to be honest with you. Last year, our rivals talked about how scary our forward line was. This year, they barely get the ball. Ollie is so scared of making Maguire look bad, says Gustav. And I'm glad somebody has said that. I mean, it's not specifically about Maguire, but we spent a lot of money on our defence. Maguire cost 80 million. I think Lindelof cost 25 million. And yet we have to pick 2 players to protect them every single game. It's a disgrace. It's nothing short of a disgrace that Manchester United have to pick 2 ball winners. And can I just say this? I've said it a few times before we move on, because Paul Pogba was apparently talking to Juventus, so I want to talk about that. But can I just say this? I've said it so many times. It's not the fact that Matic, McTominay and Fred cannot pass the ball forward. It's not the fact that they don't move forward. It's not the fact that they can't carry the ball forward. It's not the fact that they lose the ball more than they actually do anything with the ball. It's not the fact that they're just crap. But the point is, not only do they not do anything to get the team going, they also cost us goals. They can't mark people. They don't see runners. Like, the goals yesterday are all because of the midfield, but there's countless other goals. James Rodriguez against Everton, unmarked in the box. St Maximum, unmarked in the box. Not only are they absolutely abysmal at taking the ball off the back 4 and running a game for us, but they don't pick runners up as well. I can't think of a midfield combination worse than those three in the whole Premier League time we've been in the club. Because certainly in the 90s and the noughties, I mean, look, people might talk about Cleverley and Anderson, but they were better. Cleverley and Anderson were better than what we've got now. Anderson is way better than Fred and actually genuinely did look Brazilian at times. Cleverley was a lot more clever, pardon the pun, than someone like a McTominay, because he actually knew to go with the runners and he actually could pass the ball forward and move. We've not had a midfield pivot like this ever in the Premier League history. We've not. There's nothing like that. We've probably picked worse midfields, but not consistently. What I'm talking about is, there's been times when we've probably picked O'Shea and Phil Neville in the midfield. They're way better than what we've got anyway. But there will be a bad example out there. Somebody will say, remember we picked those two or whatever. But we've consistently picked McFred this season, and they are the worst midfield. Don't agree with me, but the fact that it's debatable is the issue. We've not had a midfield pivot as bad as that in Premier League history for Manchester United. In 30 years, we've not had a midfield pivot as bad as what we have been playing this season. So, and why are we doing it? Why do we put two Duracell bunnies in the midfield who will run around? Because we're shielding our centre-backs. The whole problem is that. But even if you buy a Varane next season, who's going to play in the midfield? Because I'm trying to construct a midfield there, and the only way I can do it is Paul Pogba's got to play centrally. I don't know why we're putting Paul Pogba on the wing, but who do you play with Pogba? And let's not forget, Pogba might not be here next year. So the problem we have at the moment could be massive next season, because we're not even looking at one midfielder when we probably need two. Who's playing in the pivot next year if Pogba goes? The same three shit players that we've got now. So it's worrying. Keith Lang says anybody but Fred. But you know what? I would take Fred over McTominay, and I would take Fred over Matic. And that sounds ridiculous when he got like 1 out of 10 yesterday. But Fred actually is the closest thing, and he couldn't be further away to a sort of Kante or a Fabinho, because he's mobile and he's tenacious. He can't pass. He absolutely cannot pass. But Matic and McTominay are too bloody slow. They can't mark people. So we're in trouble in that position. You know what I would do? I'd play Twansebi in there. I don't know why nobody is thinking about this. I know he's not a centre defensive midfielder, but Twansebi would be better than what we've got in there. God knows what that lad's done. I don't know what he has done. I don't understand why he's not getting any game time. Ridiculous misuse of players again. Because I think that Twansebi should leave. I don't understand the treatment of him. We are protecting our centre-backs with two centre defensive midfielders, and yet we've got a centre-back that can't do any worse. And this is what I'm talking about after the international break. We will continue with McFred. We will do. You know he's going to do it. But I don't know why he's doing it, because it's not like it works. All it does is, if we get a clean sheet and we nick a goal, we grind a result out. But you're going to lose the fans doing that. You're going to lose your job doing that. At some point, you've got to change things. And the best way to change things is to start playing a brand of football that, you start winning the fans back. And we will do that. If Paul Pogba goes central, you get Donny van der Beek on the right or the left, and you start getting that combination between Bruno, Donny and Pogba on a regular, you're going to see a better United side. And people like Cavani will get more chances. And Rashford can just do what Rashford does with Luke Shaw on the left. I don't understand why he won't do it, because he's absolutely obsessed with pinging diagonal long balls from Maguire or Lindelof to try and get quick players on the ball. But the reality is, it's not working. It's not working, is it? Anyway, there was a story today, I read it in the Manchester Evening News via Italian reports, that over when the Milan trip occurred, that Raiola had chats with the chief, I think it's the sporting director, I forget his name, begins with a P, of Juventus. All I'd say about that is, opinion on Ricky slating Greenwood, says S. Tune in tonight at 8 o'clock. We've got a show tonight where I'm on it, Ricky's on it, Flex is on it, I think Beth's on it, and Kev's on it. And we're going to, there'll be other things to discuss, but one of the things we're really going to talk about is the state of Manchester United as a live show with all you lot. So sort of Solskjaer and Man United debate, and some of those things will come in. Because I messaged Ricky last night, I said, surely you weren't talking about Greenwood, surely you're talking about Matic. Mark, get ready for the the biggest battle since Neo versus Mr. Smith from The Matrix. Zane, if you're talking about Man United versus Arsenal in the Europa League final, I don't think there's many United fans at the moment that would be confident we will make the final. There's 4 games to get to the final. Been going to Old Trafford since 1990. Last 7 years, the Glazers have progressively lowered our expectations to the point where we're thankful to get drawn against Granada, says Xander. And by this favouritism, Ollie is going to lose dressing room because of this McFred and Magaluf thing. All other players must be pissed off. We need a CDM, says Vishal. Mate, it is favouritism at this point, because favouritism is where we've all encountered it. Favouritism is where you pick people on because you like them over ability, and that's what's happening now. I saw Mark Hughes, a piece that Mark Hughes was talking about Donny van der Beek, and he was saying that, look, you can only have so many opportunities before you're kicked out the door, and I think Donny van der Beek might be heading towards that. And I was like, oh my God, does Mark Hughes watch Manchester United? I know he's an ex-United great. He was a fantastic player, and I know he's a bit dubious after that because he's managed rivals and stuff like that. But I think this is just another ex-player proving to you that your opinion is no worse than an ex-player's just because they were brilliant players. Because what is Mark Hughes talking about? Donny van der Beek is virtually on the way out of the door because he's not performing. Every time I've seen Van der Beek play for United, every time, from that half an hour against Newcastle where it was a tight game and we blasted them with Mata and Donny and Bruno interchanging, I think Donny van der Beek has shown... I mean, we scored a goal yesterday because of Van der Beek. It was a really intelligent step over. Donny van der Beek looks to me like a player that's come back from a broken leg and needs 10 games to get into the rhythm. He doesn't play with these players regularly enough. I don't think Donny van der Beek's done a problem at all. I think Donny van der Beek will leave this club quite rightly because he'll say, up yours, I've been treated badly. I don't think Donny van der Beek's going to leave this club because he's not good enough, and I will never accept that. He's not been given the opportunity he should have been given because favouritism exists. How can Donny van der Beek, Alex Telles, Paul Pogba, or anybody genuinely be told by Solskjaer, I just don't rate you, when you are consistently picking shit players in the midfield? So that's favouritism to me. People are being picked not because they're good, but because they'll put a shift in. And this is what I mean. Expectations have been lowered so much at this football club that we now championing putting a shift in. I can't believe it. Championship players put a shift in. You know, if you go and watch non-league football, it's full of professional footballers of a decent standard who will go and put a shift in on a Saturday afternoon for their local team, but they didn't make it to the Premier League because they can put a shift in. They've got the stamina, but they haven't got the talent. Man United have become a team of lower league players. Championship standard players. Probably not even championship. Just because they put a shift in. We now value putting a shift in and shouting a bit. And I tell you what, yesterday's game shows that for all the criticism people give Bruno Fernandes, they're all gobbing off about Ollie sitting there, I told you so, Ollie's not good enough. But I haven't heard anybody saying, God, we're shit without Bruno. Because it's not just about Bruno, and I would admit over the last few weeks, Bruno's form's been it has dropped off. But what we miss from Bruno and what we saw yesterday is, it's not just that he's one of our best players. It's the way he forces the team to press. It's the way that he speaks to the team. It's the demand that a proper leader has. Did you see leadership on the pitch yesterday? I'm not talking about Maguire. This is not about Maguire. I'm talking about, was there any player on that pitch yesterday who made you feel like, yeah, they're going to grab hold of this game? Until Bruno came on, I didn't see that. I think Cavani gave a little bit when he came on as well, but it was too late. We miss when Bruno doesn't play. We generally look shite. Welcome to the members club, Cameron and Callum Prout. Thanks for the super chat. Can I just say as well, I absolutely agree with that person who said that the standards drop year on year with Manchester United. And I absolutely agree with you. And you know for why? Tell me this. If Manchester United, and we can't do it now, if Ollie had won the FA Cup but finished 5th, do you think he would have been sacked in the summer? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know it's a hypothetical, but absolutely not. He would not be sacked for finishing 5th and winning the FA Cup. If anything, they'd say, well, we finished 3rd last year, but we did win a trophy. They would not sack him for finishing 5th and winning an FA Cup. Van Gaal's in tears. Like, Van Gaal got sacked for finishing 5th on goal difference and winning an FA Cup. And rightly so. Rightly so. But do not tell me that we would do the same thing again. This club is becoming Arsenal. You start off as invincibles, winning a title, and you start dropping second to third to fourth to fifth to eighth to mid-table, FA Cup, mid-table. You know, this is what happened. Arsenal's decline was gradual. I'll guarantee you now, our decline is going down. We think progress is going up. It's a deceptive graph, because our success this season is based on grinding it out. We are that Ferrari with the tyres absolutely burning down, the foot to the pedal. This is going to, the engine's going to blow. You know it's going to blow, because the progression is nothing other than results. We're very results driven. When you look behind the results, and the results are good, but this is why I'm saying give him till May, because I know he's getting a new contract and I know he's going to get top four, and therefore I truly believe he shouldn't get the sack. But I know, and people go, I'll stop sticking up for Ali, this, that and the other. I'm not. Have I said anything more than go beyond May? No, because I know that those people who are saying sack Ollie, it's futile. I feel sorry for you, because it's not going to happen. I say give him till May because I absolutely know that this summer is going to make or break not just Solskjaer, it's going to make or break us. Because if Pogba walks, and I think he does, and we don't have a good summer, and I don't think we do, next season we're going to plummet. Because the good thing about finishing second place or third place is that's the bar. I can't see that being achieved next season if we have the summer I think we're going to have. So why I keep saying is give him till May is because I think beyond that, it's going to take something huge from this football club, which they're not willing to do. And I'll argue it with anybody. There is progress, but the overall arching thing at this football club is regress. Because if you're going to sack a manager 4 years ago or 3 years ago, I think it was 4 years ago. If you're going to sack him, or maybe 5 years ago, for finishing fifth and winning an FA Cup, but you wouldn't do it now, how is that progress? And the great thing about business is you can find avenues to show your shareholders that you're improving. But actually, there's evidence that you're not. And I think that, yes, on the pitch this season, we've definitely shown progress because we're second in the league. But when you look at the bigger picture and the way the club is being run, and again, this goes beyond Solskjaer. Solskjaer can't buy players. Solskjaer can't, reprimand him and warn himself. The club is dictated to by the board and the owners, and the reality is we are regressing. The club have got no ambition to win titles. Not really. They don't want to because ambition in football is money. Money buys you titles, whether it's Blackburn Rovers, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's Manchester United, to be fair, whether it's Manchester City. All right, the morality of where that money comes from is totally arguable, but Manchester United have won trophies because of money. So have Liverpool. So have Chelsea. So the ambition of this football club is led by the owners, and the ambition is changing. We did sack a manager for finishing fifth and winning an FA Cup. We wouldn't do that now. Ollie said he left Bruno out yesterday due to the amount of games and minutes he's played. Isn't that on Ollie for constantly playing him every game? Says Salah Ahmed. We've cost Bruno Player of the Year. I think we have cost Bruno Player of the Year. But you know what? As well, let me just bring it back to the pitch because people don't like it when I just talk about the board. Can I just say to you, and somebody said it earlier, what are we learning as a coaching setup at Manchester United? I don't know what we're learning because I actually think we've regressed on the pitch as well. Now, this is controversial because people will say, well, you've just said that we're finishing second and that's progression. This is what I mean. There is factual progression, but there's always underlying issues. I said this yesterday. I think that Manchester United's team at the moment is worse than the team that finished the season last year. I think our front three last year of Martial, Greenwood and Rashford is better than the front three that we've got now. I just think that I truly believe that. I think Bruno that finished last season is better than the Bruno we've got at the moment. Obviously, the midfield is better last year than it was because it was Matic and Pogba and now it's McFred. Luke Shaw's better than he was last year, but overall, I think the team was better at the end of last season. So how is that actually progression? But why are we second, Mark? I know, and that's the question to ask. Why did we finish third last year and second this year? Well, of course, last year we only had Bruno for half of the season. So that's half a season of points that we couldn't get. I think we are... I think people are not realising that yes. I feel like that Meg Ryan in bloody Sleepers in Seattle or whatever it was. There's no doubt that we've made progression and the media will tell you that made progression. And I will tell you that we've made progression, but there's always mitigating facts. I believe, and it's only my opinion, I believe that United were a better team at the end of last season than they are now. And everyone's going to say, well, you're wrong because if you're higher in the league, you got more points. But we only had Bruno for half a season last year. We've had him for a full season this year. And I think that's the big difference. And also, can I just say, if we're making progress, why have we just gone and made the same mistake in the FA Cup as we made last year? And people say, what mistake are you making? We got to the semi-final against Chelsea and he changed his team last year. He changed his team. Chelsea went stronger than us and Ollie changed his team and we got beat. We get to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup and he makes major changes to his team and then does a premeditated 4-for-4 substitution. I don't think we're learning. I don't think we're learning. And Alfie says we're not better, just other teams are a lot worse. Messi says Ollie's got to go. He's clueless. Well, look, people will say what they want to say about Solskjaer. I will stick where I've always been. That the reality is. The fact is we have progressed. You can't argue with that. But I think there's mitigating circumstances. I feel that we are a football club that at the moment is not showing a genuine plan for the future. We're just absolutely revving the shit out of what we've got and it's going to blow up. And also, I think the summer will dictate Solskjaer's future more than anything. And I do believe that we need to see where we are at the end of May. And at the moment, I think quite rightly, there's a lot of questions being asked. I think quite rightly that that's high-end football. Some of these players should be feeling ashamed of themselves this morning because they were shocking yesterday. The manager should be looking at himself and his coaches should be looking at themselves. I mean, as I said, Michael Carrick sat next to Jose Mourinho 3 years ago. How he can't see the similarities, I do not know. And that team on the left, there is no excuse. After the international break, that should be the team. There is no excuse. There's no reason to bubble wrap Maguire anymore and Lindelof anymore. Just separate them. Put Eric Bailly in there. There's no reason to play two inept CDMs when you can just put Paul Pogba in there. There's no reason to play three speed merchants up front when you can put Donny van der Beek on the right and get a triangle going between Pogba, Bruno. I want to see Bruno, Pogba and Donny in the same team. I want to see Eric Bailly at centre-back with Maguire because that's worked. I want to see more from the right-hand side, and we get it with that team. I want to see the left-hand side working with Shaw and Rashford. I want to see that team. I'm living in fantasy world. I am. I'm living in a fantasy world because I'm not going to see that. What we're going to see is the same as what we've seen over the last few weeks. But ultimately, that's up to Solskjaer. That's up to the club. Because if they think that picking the team that he's been picking for the last few weeks is going to build the fan base back behind that manager, then I'm sad to say it's not going to happen. We're going to get more results like yesterday. We will go on good runs, but ultimately Manchester United is not a football club that's just about results, and it never has been. We're a greedy fan base. It's about results. It's about winning, and it's about winning in an attractive way. And for some reason, our football club does not seem to remember that anymore. We just think it's about results. And I think we've got too many people in that hierarchy at that football club who are about protecting themselves and not about being Manchester United. And that goes from the very top all the way down to the coaches. We have become very, very, very risk averse and very about results and very about protecting jobs. That's not what Manchester United was about when I was growing up, and I'm sure it's not what Manchester United is like to you. Also, just wanted to say as well that we spoke about Tielemans, we spoke about Van der Beek, we spoke about Pogba, we spoke about no point in protecting, starting 11 equals that, Glazer's out, we've spoken about Bruno, we've spoken about losing the fans, we've spoken about subs were premeditated, same subs behind the wants to build from that. Wake up moment clips. One more thing I wanted to say. Solskjaer said in his press conference that we win as a team and we lose as a team. Basically talking about Fred passing out from the back. He says we want to build from the back and sometimes it won't be successful. Michael Jones says McTominay needs to play centre-back. He's a beast, could blossom to be a top class and has pace, and Donny van der Beek is a number 6 all day. Michael Jones, are you actually trolling? Like, Scott McTominay yesterday shouldn't play for Man United for about 4 weeks. What? He's a brilliant centre-back. It would help if he knew how to bloody head a ball. I mean, what was that? I mean, no. It's easy. Bring Brendan Rodgers tactics, says Victor. But no, I mean, I thought that was very interesting what Solskjaer said, is that, you know, we want to build from the back. If you want to build from the back, why do you put two people who can't pass in the midfield pivot? Like, why? I've been saying this for a while, and I'm sure a lot of other people would agree on this. Why would Manchester United... What's our obsession with passing out from the back when we've got people who aren't very good at passing? I don't think Wan-Bissaka's passing's that good. I'm not convinced Maguire's passing is that good. I think McTominay and Fred's passing is diabolical. Why are we passing out from the back with that standard of a player? And if we're going to pass out from the back, maybe play players that can take the ball one touch, two touch fast. You know, going back to that previous point there that I think's trolling about McTominay, actually, if you want to pass out from the back, then even more important, you put Donny van der Beek or Paul Pogba in there, because they're players that can take the ball one touch, pass and move. Why are we playing out from the back with people like Fred? I'll take you back to Wolves, probably 2.5 years ago. Played out from the back, Fred cost us a goal. He can't do it. He actually cannot pass out from the back. So why would you give the ball to Fred in a difficult situation? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's trying to polish a turd. I've said this before. The reason Pep Guardiola is successful is because they target a player that's going to play the Pep way. Man City have spent a lot of money to do that. I'm sure they wouldn't like to spend a lot of money to do it, because if Pep could grab a Stoke player and get him to do what Rodri does, he wouldn't spend the money on Rodri. The reason he buys Rodri is because, like anything in life, some people are better at things than others. And in football, you don't try and do what Pep does, but do it with Fred and McTominay when he's got people like Fernandinho and Rodri and Gundogan and De Bruyne. You buy good players to do it. You can't just play pass out the back just because Pep does it, but do it with shit players. So this passing out the back, it's not acceptable to concede a goal like that yesterday. That's on the coaches. Get players in those positions who can pass, or don't do it. Simple as. Last season was divided into two very different halves. We accumulated the most points last spring. Compared to that, we are regressing as a team, says Gustav. I absolutely believe, and I think it's a fact, that this season we've progressed from last season. But I absolutely believe in my heart that the team at the end of last season is miles better than the team we have at the moment. And people will call that a contradiction. But as you just said, Gustav, the points we've accrued since Bruno Fernandes came into this club is huge. If you look at that, Bruno only came in halfway through last year. I guarantee if Bruno had been brought in the summer, like he should have been, last season, we probably would have finished second as well. We might not have done, because maybe we would. I said it at the time. But the only reason we're better this year is because of points. Points tally. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. We've got a fantastic show coming for you at 8 o'clock tonight. We've got Ricky, myself, and Kev and Beth and Flex on, so that's going to be quite a heated show tonight. We've also got an interview coming up this afternoon with Andy Cole. He's talking about what he thinks Manchester United need to buy. Very interesting from Zed Jamie that Rashford's going on international duty. I will be controversial on this, and you can clip it, I don't really care. Marcus Rashford is a very important player for Manchester United. He didn't play yesterday. Why the fuck is he going on international duty? This is a guy that we have ran into the ground. Now, I know that Rashford wants to go and play for England, but what's more important, Manchester United or England? England are playing San Marino and bloody Latvia. What the hell is Rashford doing going on England international duty? Who wears the trousers at that football club? Is Rashford in charge of what he does, or is Manchester United in charge of what he does? Now, of course, Rashford's in charge of what he does, but I'm telling you now, in the Sir Alex Ferguson era, people like Giggs hardly played for Wales because it was about what's best for Manchester United. This lad is one of our most important players. He didn't play yesterday, but he's going to play for England in shit games for Gareth Southgate. Stat padding. And he needs a rest. He needs a rest. And this, you know what? That to me just shows weak management again. This is the problem at United. Everyone goes on about what great man management we've got. It's favouritism is what we've got. Because it's not great management if you're Donny van der Beek or Alex Telles or Axel Tuanzebe. But if you're one of the favourites, you're allowed to do whatever you like. And look, this is not a dig at Rashford. Rashford's one of my favourite players. But in fact, it's an appreciation of Rashford. Because he needs a bloody rest. He needs a rest. And he's off to play for England when he didn't play for us yesterday. that to me was always the thing. If you don't play the last game before the international break, you don't go on international break. So again, it's just silly. Really silly. Anyway, look, I'll speak to you all in a bit. Great show coming up at 8 o'clock tonight, and check out the interview coming up this afternoon. Obviously, we'll go live if anything else happens. Please subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and we will and smash a like on the video, and I'll speak to you all in a bit.